So hello again. I cut the video into two because I don't want to have you an information overload. No, so we're not done to talking about Freud's theory, the structure of personality according to Freud, ego, superego, and then we also tackled about the psychosexual development, which is the oral, anal, phallic latency, and genital stage. There's a video as well that I presented to you via YouTube. You can just search it up and watch it if you want more information. And now we talked about the defense mechanisms. Previously, we talked about repression and suppression and naputotas or regression na part, which is talking about what fetal position is. So let me share to you, class, what a fetal position is. So this is a fetal position. Okay? So you can see, asa siya usually mabuhat. Okay? So mabuhat na siya usually when you are crying. Kay gibuwagan mo sa inyo ang uyab. Okay? So, maghilak, masakit ang tiyan, matulog nga bugnaw. So this is actually indicative of you going back to regression. Why, miss? Nganong regression man na if mag-fetal position me? Okay? Because during that time plus, you being inside your mother's womb is the most comfortable moment in your life. Walang labis, walang kulang. The best, yun na siya, class. Okay? Muna siya time na wala pa ka nag-stress mo mga modules, wala pa ka nag-stress kung crush back ba ka ni crush, o pa ka nag-stress sa climate change, o pa ka nakuyawan kung mag-destroy na ba ang world by 2048. Okay? It's a very comfortable position. So, manang, when we're experiencing discomfort, when we're experiencing distress, we actually do that, no? Because we're going back to that stage sa napata sa womb sa atong mama, which is very comfortable. Bugnaw daw na, class, sulod sa uterus sa atong mama, mura daw na aircon. Diba? Sana all na aircon. So, man siya ang regression. Another thing, if you smoke, if you're someone who smokes, diba, when you're stressed, you smoke. So that's actually a regression to an earlier stage, which is the oral stage. And remember, class, if dili gani properly ma-meet ang needs sa imong oral stage, you develop an oral fixation. You become stuck in that stage. And others go as far as having psychological disorders or psychological eating disorders such as binge eating, okay? So naay difference sa ang binge eating and stress eating lang, but it's also a form of regression. Okay? So reaction formation, an unacceptable impulse is transformed into its opposite. So example ani is two co-workers fight all the time because they're actually very attracted to each other. So dili naggikan ang the more you hate, the more you love, no? Mga Wattpad, no? Ay kanang mga Wattpad na basahon no na to sa una ba. Yan, basing naapay mga mabasa po Wattpad until now, no? Kanang lovers to enemies, enemies to lovers na mga storya. Okay, going back, class. So, example, subconsciously, I really hate, I really hate my sister. Okay, let's just say this as an example. So, since this is too uncomfortable for me, so that's actually very contrasting, very conflicting as to what I'm taught to do, as to what I think I should do. So I actually adopt a defense mechanism na reaction formation. So overly na ko in love to the point of unhealthy na ang akong attachment sa akong sister. But again, this will require years and years of psychotherapy for you to uncover na you really did apply defense mechanism. As always, I remind you, class, once you're going into about the world, kung mag-try mo analyze og tao, ayaw mo pag-analyze og tao based from just one simple behavioral action or simple context. Human brain, human behavior is very, very complex. So you should be wary dyan. But it helps that you know these defense mechanisms because possibly inyo na po na siyang nabuhat. Projection, class. I love this defense mechanism. It's attribution of wishes, desires, thoughts, or emotions to someone else. Okay? So if, for example niya diri, a man who committed adultery daw is convinced his wife is cheating on him despite lack of evidence. Okay? So, example, kanang giingnan ka sa imuhang uyab na, kanang, ni-share ka sa imuhang, pwede example na kuha na real life example ha. Aktikan lang yun sa imagination. No, imagination lang limits. So, example, imo iyab, share kasi mo iyab, kanang bed, kay, kanang kuan ba, kanang, na ako'y bagong job niya, ay job offer niya, kanang ganahan ko mo try, then mo ana din siya na, mo try jud ka na, kanang, kuan man ka, hadlok man ka rejection, mo ana siya nimo, niya, ikaw thinking na, ano kiba ka hadlok og rejection, 1 week pag taga-uyab. Possibly kay nag-project na imuhang uyab sa iyahang fears. So, iyang fears, iyang insecurities, iyang gi-project nimo, iyang gi-mirror nimo, na nahog na, ikaw na noon ang hadlok og rejection, pero siya dayto ang hadlok og rejection. Ganun na siya, class, no? Ako gi-adto ang akong thoughts na supposed to be sa ako, nimo. Ana siya. Okay? So, kani example niya, cheating man, kay ganahan mo kay mga Pinoy o kanang kuan ba? My daughter is sleeping with your husband. My daughter is... Kabuang ra class, okay. Medyo monotonous na kayo. Anyway, so mato siya, no? Mo na siya ang projection. So, ang akong ganahan, ang akong thoughts, akong desires, akong i-attribute sa someone else. Kaya di ko katanggap na mao din niya ako ang feelings. Di ko katanggap na insecure di ko. Di ko katanggap na mahadlok di ko rejection. So, ako i-attribute sa ako ang uyab, ako i-attribute sa akong anak, ako i-attribute sa akong mamagpapa. Okay? So, wala siya, gipasahan nimo. Supposed to be na imo. Ang kunon ta nimo imong insecurities. Ang kunon ta nimo imong desires. Okay? So, yan na siya. Rationalization, also one of my favorite. Kaya ako po na siyang buhaton. Hindi ka mo po, di nyo po na buhaton, no? So, justification is justifying your attitudes and beliefs and behaviors, especially if dili magkatugma imuhang pangutok sa imuhang gibuhat. Di magkatugma imong values and principles sa imuhang mga actions. Okay? So, example, a murderer who claims that while killing is wrong, his victim deserved it. I-justify niya na. Deserve ito niya kay iyang gi-cheat sila sa ako ang wife. Okay? Another form of justification, tawagan na ni Albert Bandura, no? If I'm not mistaken, moral disengagement. So one of the construct of that is moral justification used by soldiers, used by, soldiers, no? When they kill civilians, innocent civilians in wars. Class, bata pa lang ta, and in every culture, in most cultures, killing is really morally bad. Really, di na siya kuan. Okay? So, how can I align what I was meant to believe, so meaning killing is bad, to my actions? Sundalo ko, nakapatay kong innocent na civilian. I justify my actions para di ko magka-cognitive dissonance. Para mag-align balik akong thoughts ug akong actions. Mag-justify ko sa akong action. Tumana ko na, ako to silang gipatay kay I was serving a greater purpose. Okay, I was serving for my country, and that's greater. Okay, so sometimes naatay matapakan along the way for a greater purpose. So that's rationalization class. Okay? So in your own examples as a student, okay? So if you cheat, but you know yourself that you have integrity, you're an honest person deep down, and then you cheated in your exam, there is an alignment. Di siya magkatugma. Your beliefs, your actions are over the kuan, layo kaayo. So how do you justify, no, you're cheating? Mana mo na, karon lang bitaw because I really want to graduate and it's for a greater purpose. I want to graduate and land a good job, and if I don't pass this subject, di ko ka-graduate. So that's rationalization class. This is very, very employed. You can see traces of this everywhere. So be mindful, tanawan ninyo, makakita yun mo, makapinpoint mo asa diri ang justification. Okay? Displacement, changing the target of an emotion while the feelings remain the same. No? When sent to his room as a punishment, a child begins to punch and kick his pillow. Okay, so panalitan, niuli si papa nimo. Ikasab-an ka kay ang imong linungag na si tawagan na class na himong pagod. Okay? Mura na siya kanang kuan. 80% kanon, 20% pagod. Okay? Na lagot kay papa nimo, gibunalan ka, sud kag sako. Bati na siya. Sud kag sako niya, gibunalan ka. Pagpagawas nimo lagot kay kasi mong papa. Man kay nahimo maka displacement, nag-use maka defense mechanism displacement kay dili makakakuan kabaw sa mong papa kay hadlok man ka. Okay? Buhat imong gilhimong tinola iyahang manok na pansabong. Okay? So mo na siya klase changing the target of an emotion while the feelings remain the same. So lagot ka dili makakakuan sa someone bigger than you. So you go sa someone smaller. Inya dito ka magkuan. Same ra gud na klase. For example, imong mama stress kay sa work, kadit lang panghagis, anong wala man ako ang mga nilabahan din eh. Anong wala man na siligan. So kung saan lang panghilabtan din na sa balay mo, kayawan makakalit. Alam mo, siya kalit magsigyaw-yaw. Probably, stress kay na siya sa work class, nga nag-displace na siya sa balay. Okay? So, yan ako estudyante ka isa no, Miss, unsaon man na nako, Miss, aware ko, nag-displace ako, mama, pero kapuya raman sa sigig sa Miss, oy, buhat nimo ana is, imo ipa-aware imo mama, total nakaagi makag understanding the self, o ipa-aware nimo imo mama, stress ka sa work, okay? Di ba? So, at least imo mama, no, mo ano di, lausa, wa nga no ako magiputak ko stress diri sa balay, ma-aware na din si mama nimo, okay? So that's displacement class, okay? Sublimation class, channeling unacceptable impulse into much more socially acceptable na mga pangbuhatonon. So say for example, if lagot kay ko, ako siyang himuog art. Okay, di ba nahimo siyang art piece. Nagdrawing ko andra, nagdrawing ko kanang satanas. Okay. So, one na siya class, no sublimation. Rather than putting my anger into like punching someone or lutuon akong manok ni Papa, himon akong tinola, ako siyang himuon o much more constructive. Okay, so himuon ako siyang art, mag-jogging ba ko, mag-boxing ba ko. Okay, so that's sublimation class. Okay, you're actually channeling it into a much more healthier na behavior, somewhat like socially acceptable sa society na behavior. Okay, so that's it. If you have questions, class, you can just type in. I reply, though dili kay ko active sa YouTube. Di ba ta YouTuber? Okay. But I do reply. Sige. So, for temperaments according to Hippocrates, I will send the link here. So, if you're interested, it's very interesting. So, I really encourage you. Click the link, pause the video, and then answer muna the questions para kuan, no? Para kasabay mo sa discussion. Okay? So, if you want, dini pinugsanay, type in your kuan, no? Your four temperaments, kung unsa mo, and if sakto ba, no? If you think na, Miss, ani jud ko, may pagkasakto gyud siya na melancholic jud ko. Okay? So, I will send the link. So, press the link, and then pause the video, answer the test, then come back here. Baliki ko, class. Ha? Ayaw ko biya. Ha? Biyaan na kita sa kuan. Char. Bitaw. Baliki ko, class, ha? Sige, melancholic. A melancholic person is easily depressed. He is moody, seldom smiles, seems to see the dark side of life, no? Ang prominent body niya is bile. So, sa unang panahon, class, nag-believe sila na an excess of something sa atong body would actually lead to our, or is actually equivalent to our temperament, equivalent to our personality. So, kung ang akong daghan na fluid is bile, meaning ana, it's because I was melancholic kay daghan kog bile. Okay? I'm sanguine kay daghan ko akong body fluid po is blood. So, if you recall, if you know about this class, a little bit fun fact lang, sanguine is also associated with kanang sa tagani, kanang medyo may pagka-ragey na personality ba. They're very optimistic. Pero to counter that is kuan na sila dugo. Fact check it class ha, kay dugay na kay ko first year pa nina ko siya na lesson no in college. But anyway, they really do believe at the time of Hippocrates, no, that your fluid will actually is correlated to your personality. Okay, so this personality is optimistic, tending to see the bright side of life. No? A sanguine is warm-hearted, cheerful, and makes friends easily. So may pagka-extroverted, no? May ana. So choleric class is a personality that is very nervous. Okay, they're easily provoked and behave aggressively when they fail to accomplish their goals. Their prominent body fluid is the yellow bile. And now we have phlegmatic. Rohog Anas of Miss Universe, no? Miss Phlegmatic is the personality of Miss Phlegmatic is slow and calm in its behavior. He or she is cautious and deliberate carefully before taking an action. The body fluid of Miss Phlegmatic is phlegm, di ba? So, phlegm siya. So, medyo, systematic siya in terms of plano niya siya. Mani siyang type na may plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. O, gabi kayo na siya planning. Okay, cautious gina kayo siya. Okay? So, these are the personality types. Kamo, sa inyo nakuha? Ako nakuha is melancholic. Okay? So, easily depressed, moody, seldom smiles, and seems to see the dark side of life. Kamo, tingin ninyo, sakto sa ako. Okay, di na lang ko mention ko sakto Shardy. Pero, mo na siya ako ang nakuha ng melancholic. Okay, then let's move on, class. Now we go to Erickson. No? We're done with Freud, and now we move on to Erickson. So, saan ni si Erickson? Okay, I have here a video. These are the 8 stages of development by Erickson. You can watch it if you want. Pero ako, class, since kanang highly suggest na ko na you watch this very systematic na pagka-explain video, so you would really understand. Pero if mas prefer ninyo na kanang dili na lang mag-click sa video, sige mo, chika na lang sa ko ninyo. Okay, dali lang ta sa video. Okay. Sige, so unsa man na ang theory ni Erickson. Class, si Erickson, no, a little trivia of Erickson. He didn't know his father. He wasn't sure of his father. And so because of that, he kept on searching. Dagan kay na siya last name. And then he eventually decided on Erickson. So meaning, Eric's son. He is the son of his own self. Okay, so ano siya? He developed the psychosexual stages ni Freud. Iyang gitanggal ang sexual aspect sa theory ni Freud ug iyang giadan og 4 more. So imbis na upat, oral, anal, phallic, latency, genital, imbis na sa genital ra siya kutob, iyang giadan og 4 more. Iyang giadan og 3 more, no, ang stage. Iyang gi-extend pa. Pero this is still somewhat like there's a connection, pero again gitanggal na niya ang sexual theories ni Freud. Okay? So ang kuha ni class is sa 8 stages naa siya'y crisis, okay, or important event. Firstly, na siya'y conflict, na siya'y important event, no, na buhatonon, and then naa siya'y kumbaga resolution, okay? So for example, sa infancy class, no, that's around birth to 18 months, naay trust versus mistrust. Okay? And so, ang conflict ani is trust versus mistrust niya. Ang important event is feeding. So, mag-develop diri ang ability sa bata to trust the caregiver and to mistrust. So, according to the theory, if you're not really well fed, you will develop a mistrust and it will translate into your adulthood. If you're very imuhang needs gi-meet gyud, okay, in terms of feeding, so when you cry and you're hungry, naada yun si mama to feed you, that will translate into a healthy coping, or you would be entrusting to the world. No, you're developing a sense of trust. Okay, next is the second stage, which is early childhood, 2 to 3 years old ni siya class. The conflict ani is autonomy versus shame and doubt. So there is here the toilet training. So can you see now the correlation? Okay, so ang kuha ni class is developing a sense of personal control. Okay? So na ay feelings of independence dapat ang bata ani. So the feelings of independence should be cultivated here sa bata. So kabantay mo class na maglakaw-lakaw na ang bata mo, look back na siya no? Because he wants the assurance na okay, kaya mo yan, no? You're independent. Okay? If this is not cultivated, okay, this sense of personal control sa bata is not cultivated, naa siya mag-develop siya shame and doubt. So wala siyang conflict niya is autonomy versus shame and doubt. Kung sa ang ika-third na stage, ang ika-third na stage is when you're in your preschool, that's your age is around 3 to 5 years old. Imong conflict ani is initiative versus guilt. Now it's very key here that the child explores. No, it's the when the child begins to assert their control, maana na siya no, sige siya no, no. Okay? So ganahan siya na siya kanang maka-develop na siya or kailangan na siya mo assert no sa iyahang power sa iyahang social context. Okay? So a child class na pasagdaan lang no to exert too much power will experience guilt no. Kay, of course, if a child exerts too much power na, of course, disapproval will be met. Okay? So, na siya, mag-develop niya siya sense of guilt. Okay? But, if sakto lang, then na siya, mag-develop na siya initiative. Okay? Next, school age. Class, no? 6 to 11 years old. That's industry versus inferiority. So, of course, the school age here is, you're in your school age, no? So, this is where you already cope with your academic demands, no? So you do your homeworks, and if you feel like you're competent in doing homeworks, it will help you develop a sense of the industriousness, okay? Sense of competence. Pero dili gali na siya na successfully develop class na aday mo feelings of inferiority. So where your feelings of incompetence stems from, your low self-esteem. Okay? And then we have adolescence, which is around your age probably, identity versus role confusion. Now, important event here is social relationships. No, you building your relationships with other people. Very high ni ang conformity here because you want to be with the peer pressure. Okay? So, ang kuan ni class dapat ma-develop sa teens is developing the personal identity kung unsa jud ka. Okay? Of course, if you're successful in developing your identity, you will know who you really are, who you truly are. Okay? Pero if you're not, then you'll be confused as to who you are. Bisag asa na ka maabot na trabaho, bisag asa na ka maabot na kurso, bisag asa na ka maabot sa tao. Okay? So, mga tao na di maayo. Okay? Mga na. Then, of course, intimacy versus isolation. That's your age here is around 19 years old to 40 years old. It's where you try to build na your partner up. Okay? Build your sense of belonging. Okay? So, you want to form intimate relationships with other people. So, of course, if you're successful here, you can develop very healthy intimacy with others. Pero if you cannot successfully do this, it will result in feelings of isolation and loneliness. Okay? And of course, we have generativity versus stagnation class. Young adulthood ni siya, 19 to 40 years old. 40 to 65 years old. So, of course, parents na siguro mo ani, or work life. Okay? So, this is by means ninyo na developing like a positive change sa other people. So murag kumbaga your sense of being good stewards na noon. Okay? So muna siya kas work and parenthood. So if you're very successful in this stage, you develop feelings of usefulness, feelings of accomplishment na I'm fulfilled because I contributed this and this to society. Pero if you weren't able to develop this one, it will actually result in you being too detached sa world. Kumbaga na you're floating, working because you want just to survive and not really contribute and develop the future generation, nga ba? So, dili kayo ka-involved sa world where you live in and where you exist. na. And last is the maturity 65 to that. And conflict there, or the crisis that you will encounter, is ego, integrity, and despair versus despair. And this is mga katigwangon na class, no? Older adults need to look back on life and feel a sense of fulfillment. So, ang success ani, the older adults, no, mga tiguang, they develop feelings of wisdom, pero failure to develop this one would result in bitterness, no, regrets, despair. So, man na makakita ka mga tiguang na dili kaayo, na maldita bitaw kaayo class, no? Pero nasa kayo makita ang mga tiguang na grabe kay wisdom in life. Very content in life, no? Makita na nimo sa ma-separate gina nimo sila class. Okay, so that's bottom line what the theory is about ni Erickson. If you think like my explanation is confusing, feel free to go with the video to search for your own. No, not everyone is your cup of tea. I'm probably not your cup of tea, so I have here a video for you to learn more, no, about this theory. But if not, no, nakasabot na mo ato ko ang kuan, then let's move on to Carl Rogers. All right, we're done with Freud. We're done with Erickson. Now let's move to the self according to Carl Rogers. Kisa ni si Carl Rogers means. Ang kabala ka, magstoryata ni Carl Rogers, storyata ni Lolo. Okay? Carl Rogers actually captured the idea in this concept of self-schema. So, in his self-schema class, our organized system about who we are. Okay? He believed that the self-concept has three different components. We have the self-image, the self-worth, self-esteem, and the ideal. Okay, sorry. Okay, so Carl Rogers, again, no, humanistic psychologist na siya. And then, according to him, natay real self and natay ideal self. Okay, so, according kaning components ni sa self, di ba, class? Here, di ba? Different components, self-image, self-worth, and ideal self. Here, self-image refers to how you view yourself in terms of your physical characteristics. What's the color of your hair? Is your hair curly? Is your hair short? Unsay color sa imong skin? Unsay naong nimo sa imong, unsay kataso nimong ilong? Okay? Your social roles. What are you? Are you a student? A son, a daughter, a worker, perhaps? Personality traits, no? Or personal traits ninyo. In your temperaments, di ba, we discuss, are you sanguine, melancholic? Are you extroverted, introverted? Kumain na, okay? So, sometimes, class, our self-image does not necessarily reflect reality, okay? Especially in terms of body image. So, some of us would think na batik kitag na where in fact, papagid kita, no? And that's because of your self-esteem. So, they're correlated, kumbaga. Sometimes, when your self-esteem is inflated, your self-image will be inflated as well. So, if you have too high of a self-esteem, bisag batitag na, feeling na to, gwapa kita. Or gwapo kayo ta, no? So again, your self-image does not necessarily reflect reality. Now, self-esteem, class, is the extent to which you regard yourself. So some can have low self-esteem, some can have high self-esteem. If you have low self-esteem, you want to be somebody else. You're always comparing yourself and you always want to be that person. But if you have high self-esteem, you're very confident. You accept who you are. You don't necessarily hate or love your flaws, but you accept who you are, be it whatever your scars may be, whatever your insecurities may be. And overall, you have a healthy personality. You have a healthy regard of yourself. Okay? So, bottom line, we want to have a high self-esteem. Di lang kay pasubraan, kay mahimo na tang narcissist anak class. Okay? So, ideal self refers to the self that you like to be. No? A person's ideal self may not be consistent with what actually happens in life and experiences of the person. If dili na siya consistent, class, magkaroon tayo ng incongruence. Panalitan, class, my ideal self is to be a good and inspiring teacher, hopefully to inspire students to become better individuals, no, in the future. So I wanted to not just teach because for the sake of salary. I mean, salary is my living bread, but more than that, I want to say, for example, lang ha, my ideal self is to really reach out to the hearts of my students para they will retain this information even until they die. Okay? Okay, so is this congruent for me if I assess it? Currently, I'm a teacher. Okay? So probably I mean, it's ako ang ideal self is actually consistent with what is my experiences karon. Now, if I say that my ideal self is gusto ko magiging kagaya ni Ivana Alawi. Gusto ko gusto ko magiging model niya. Ato ang kuan diri class, no, medyo kuan ba tag kulang-kulang ba tag gamay. Okay, so probably that is not consistent with my life experiences or what's actually happening in my life. So naa siya incongruence. Okay? So be very careful with how your ideal self be. As much as possible, make it congruent with your tracks, your skills, your strengths in life. Okay? Now, according to Carl Rogers, ang real self daw is what we feel most true and who we really are. And the ideal self is what we want to be and what we are expected to be. So say for example, my parents wants me to be as a student ba, my parents wants me to be cum laude, to graduate and go to have a career in medicine or to be an engineer. But what I really want to be is be a vlogger, an artist, sa pang diha, di ko ganahan mahimo doctor, ganahan lang ko mag-teacher. Ay, ngano ginalang ako. Ganahan ko mag-teacher. So, the ideal self is actually accommodating expectations of others para naatay acceptance. So possibly nag-undergo mo aning course ninyo ron not because you really want it but because you want to gain the acceptance and love sa inyong parents. Okay, especially for Philippines class, di ba? Ang art community is not really that valued here. Mga kasagaran mga artists mga Filipino artists mukha gyud na sila client sa gawas kay mas higher paying. So, mo nang uban mo na sa settle na ko for practicality uy kay wala may mulambo na artist din niya kasi itakwil po ko ni mama o papa if ever mag-artist ko. Okay? So, mo na siya, no? You accommodate the expectations of others because you want to be accepted and loved. You want to feel a sense of belonging. Now, ang influences ani class is from the outside. Similar theory of that is kang Donald Winnicott, which is the real self and the false self. With Donald accordingly also said na ang real self mo gini kung unsa kita, okay? Regardless of all the expectations, the societal norms that we're or values that we should uphold. Now, pero ang difference is Donald Winnicott mentioned about the social mask, okay? This is the mask that we wear to adapt to different social contexts. Remember the philosophical perspective, the social anthropological perspective, katong person and moy. So, the person here is the social mask. Okay? So we wear social masks para we feel like dili ta outcast sa society. Okay? So to protect our true selves from being constantly exposed to the never-ending demands of our interpersonal environment. Kay we're afraid that if we show our true self, no, this will translate to people hating us because we don't belong. No, we don't wala ta ni sakto sa gimold sa society nato. Sample kung shape ta ba? Kung shape ta class, what if square ta? Ang society ganahan na mahimo kang circle. Okay? So would it be all right to cut a piece of yourself para mas insakto ka sa mold sa society? Okay? That's for you to answer. Kung okay ra na ninyo. But for me, that's not okay. Okay? According to Dr. Seuss, you need to be who you are and you need to say what you feel because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. Okay? The people that truly loves you would want what's best for you. And you know yourself na cutting a piece of yourself, no? Square ka, square. Cutting a piece of yourself para mahimo kang circle because that's what you're expected to be is also the same as killing your soul, no? Killing who you are deep inside. Class, okay? So, be you. Be authentically you. This did not mean to say, Hana, kung toxic ka, panatiliin maging toxic. No. I meant to say, what are your dreams? Personally, what are your dreams? What do you really like to do as a child? Are you satisfying that now? Okay? So, if the people will mind what you're doing because you're being authentic kung kinsa ka, these are people that really don't matter. And you would know na if you change because you want, this is who you should be, who you think you should be. Those who matter will not mind at all. okay? Because they love you for who you are. So I have here a very good, I don't know, I really love this poem. So it's called Masks. So she had blue skin, and so did he. He kept it hid, and so did she. They searched for blue their whole life through, then passed right by and never knew. So it's a tragic poem because they're wearing masks and they never ever took it off. So if you wear mask constantly, you kumbaga napakawalan mo yung chance to find people that will really accept you for who you are. Okay? That will understand your circumstances. Okay? So um, from time to time plus, no, take off your masks. No, assess yourself. Unsa man ka? Without the expectations of society, without the pressure sa society, without the conformity sa society. Unsa man ka? Alone. What do you like? Alone. Okay? Because if you continue wearing masks, you might lose the chance to connect to genuine people who will appreciate you for who you are, who you truly are. Okay? And that's it. That's it. That's the end of my discussion. It's 36 minutes. Napasobra ag chika. Napasay sagol kabuang, no? For everyone who come across this, thank you very much for listening. All of this information is for you. So you should also thank yourself, no? Because um, you come this far and you did this for yourself to learn. So that's it. Um, I'll end the video here. Thank you again, everyone. See you on the next video. Maybe I'll meet you in the online. I mean, in the Google Meet. No, I'll probably have a new pakulo. So just keep posted. As always, class, have fun in learning. Goodbye, everyone.